we're live.
Kevin, good.
Guys live?
This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law. In accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. This meeting of February 2nd, 2026, was published in the Courier News and Star Ledger and placed on the borough's website and bulletin board at Borough Hall. A copy of this notice is available to the public. A copy of this statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Brian Gallagher.
Here.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Here.
Andrew Conti,
Here.
Glenn Denny,
Here.
Randy Pitts.
Here.
Gina Stravic is excused this evening. Roger Verm.
Here. All right, please stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, motion for approval of the minutes of January 20.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Roger Verm.
Yes.
Okay, departmental reports and notices. Effective April 1, garbage bags of solid waste are no longer allowed to be placed on the curb for pickup without being placed in the appropriate garbage receptacle. Kevin, I know we talked last time about having a garbage seminar at our, one of our next upcoming council meetings.
I think we'll be at the next meeting on this.
Okay, all right, thank you, good. And then again, and we'll keep putting this out, election district number 8 is moved from Lincoln Hose on Warren Street to the Somerville Civic Center, 24 Robeson Street, that's right here. Okay, next up, item number 7 is a proclamation for Black History Month, February 2026, a century of Black history commemorations. And I do have a proclamation here that I would like to read. And I think when you think about Black history, it's not just past, it's also current. It's also recognizing the volunteers that we have. In all aspects, the employees that we have in all aspects. Our fire department, our rescue squad, our police department, our merchants downtown as well. So with that, whereas Black History Month provides an opportunity to recognize, honor, and celebrate the history, culture, achievements, and lasting contributions of African Americans to the borough of Somerville, state of New Jersey in the United States. And whereas the 2026 Black History Month theme, A Century of Black History Commemorations, marks the 100th anniversary of organized efforts to preserve, study, and promote Black history. And whereas this theme honors the legacy of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, whose establishment of Negro History Week in 1926 laid the foundation for what has evolved into Black History Month, an annual month-long scholarly and sustained movement dedicated to the study, teaching, and dissemination of Black history. And whereas for a century, Black history commemorations have expanded public understanding of the African American experience, corrected historical omissions, and highlighted the essential role of Black Americans in shaping the nation's social, cultural, economic, and political life. And whereas the borough of Somerville is committed to fostering an inclusive community that values diversity, promotes equity, and encourages education, dialogue, and reflection on our shared history. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Brian Gallagher, Mayor of the Borough of Somerville, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month in Somerville and encourage all residents, schools, businesses, and community organizations to observe this month through appropriate programs, activities, and educational initiatives that honor a century of Black history commemorations. A well-done proclamation. Kevin, I would ask, I think it's appropriate to get this to the Ubuntu Cultural Pavilion. Those are two folks that are steeped in Black history in Somerville, and I think it's appropriate to get that to them.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Up next, we have, first off, as they do every year, the environment.
Mayor, before you jump to discussion,
Yes.
we have committee reports. It was on the bottom of the page.
Oh, did I skip right over that? Ah,
You were too excited.
all right. Oh, yeah, it is there, isn't it? All right, committee reports. Andrew?
Yeah, Historic Advisory Committee met this week or this month for a reorganization. We're happy to kick off the 250th year. We're looking forward to a lot of good events and good times to get together and remember why it is we became a nation. One of those events coming up is on Washington's birthday. The Wallace House and Old Dutch Parsonage Association will be having new look Old Dutch Parsonage architectural research and historical rehabilitation lecture on Sunday the 15th at 3:15. If anybody's interested, going over to the Old Dutch Parsonage in Washington's house, Wallace House. Sorry, where Washington was. My apologies. Other than that, we look forward to having another meeting coming up soon and being involved in a lot more events as the year rolls on. But we're kind of waiting for the snow. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Glenn?
I have nothing except the Environmental Commission will meet here next Tuesday, February 10th at 7 p.m., and we'll hear more from them in a little bit.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Teresa?
Okay, so for the Somerville Public Library, they've started holding some of their larger programming at the Somerset County Business Hub at 50 Division Street in Suite 400. So they've been trying to get their programs back up and running with larger membership. So one that's happening tomorrow is Paint Your Date, where you bring a date or a friend for a painting challenge based on a viral TikTok where couples paint each other. There'll be a photo booth, snacks, and more. And then on February 9th at 6:30, there's going to be a pottery hand build workshop. So you build the piece there, and then you pick out your glaze, and then you go back up to the library in 2 or 3 weeks to pick it up. You can go to sclsnj.org to check out all the programs that the library is offering and to register. The DSA's Galentine Chocolate Walk that is happening on February 12th at 6 p.m. is sold out, sadly. So if you didn't buy your ticket, sorry, try again next year, I guess. But the participants will be enjoying a stroll through downtown Somerville, stopping at a variety of shops and restaurants to collect gourmet chocolate treats and sweet surprises. And the wildly popular Candlelight Concert Series is continuing. It looks like they've added more dates. Tickets sell out fast, so please go to downtownsomerville.org to reserve your ticket for an upcoming performance. The next show is February 28th with a tribute to Coldplay and Queen. That's it.
All right, great, thank you. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to share a brief property maintenance report covering the period from January 1st through January 30th, 2026. During this time frame, 20 properties were cited for property maintenance violations across the borough. Of those, 12 resulted in notices without fines, while 8 cases included monetary penalties, totaling $2,800 in issued fines. The most significant area of concern was snow removal and sidewalk clearing, which accounted for 15 of the 20 violations. This continues to be our primary compliance issues during these winter events. Additionally, violations included 3 occupancy or bedroom-related violations, representing in 15%, 1 rental registration violation, and 1 other general property maintenance issue, each accounting for 5%. We ask all residents and property owners to please do their part by clearing sidewalks promptly after snowfall, ensuring properties remain safe, accessible, and compliant, especially for pedestrians, seniors, and individuals with disabilities. Taking action early helps prevent violations, improves public safety, and keeps our community moving during winter conditions. Overall, this report highlights the ongoing need for timely snow and sidewalk maintenance. We will continue focusing on education first, with enforcement when necessary to protect the safety and quality in life in our borough. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger?
I have nothing this evening, but I would like to piggyback on what the councilman said, and I think we've all seen it around town. Everybody's, if you live on a corner, you got to help out your neighbors. We are a walking school district, and we need to make sure that the sidewalks are safe as the councilman was saying, for our students as they walk to and from school. Because again, that we have the walking school bus that meets for Vanderveer, and it's essential that our neighbors and our constituents go out there and shovel for themselves. And if they need help, I'm sure they can check on a neighbor, or if worse comes to worse, we can always reach out to the DPW if it's something that at this point, unfortunately, since we're dealing with permafrost, it might be good to reach out. But I've definitely, Glenn and I were having a conversation on the way here. There's a lot of corners that have not been done well, and the residents have to remember, residents and businesses have to remember the corner. If they are a corner lot, the corner is their responsibility.
Well said, thank you. And I'll join you in that. I live on a corner. There are a number of corners that are not shoveled, and they need to be shoveled. It's a problem. It really is, it's difficult. I said this at the last meeting. I used to love snow. I don't love snow anymore. And it's a challenge. We sit up here and, we hear plows did a great job. We hear plows did an awful job. It doesn't even look like the plows came down my street. We hear it all. And I think what people have to remember is that we had 14 inches of snow. We had 2 inches of ice on top of that snow. And then we went into permafrost. We went into the Arctic, and it froze. Everything locked up. It's not going anywhere. And quite honestly, it's not going anywhere probably for another 2 weeks. We're looking at next week highs of 8 degrees. So it's a challenge. But it's not a challenge that none of us have ever faced before. It is snow. It will disappear at some point in time. It is going to go away. So I ask for patience. I ask for a little understanding. I can tell you, if you leave your car parked on the street, the borough provided residents with about 175 tickets for parking on the street over this storm. And yet, I still got calls. There's people parked on my street. And I also got calls that I've been parking on my street for 30 years. I never got a ticket until this year. I actually had somebody stop me to tell me that. And so they got away with it for 29 years, and they're mad that they got it on the 30th year. So it's a challenge. Our DPW was out, I think, for 18 hours straight. The town is done both by DPW and by a contractor. We had 28 pieces of equipment on the road to try to keep up with this storm. It was a good storm. We got a lot of snow. So patience, some understanding, and some awareness of your neighbors. When you leave your car parked on the street, it affects about a half a block. So don't leave your car on the street. You're going to get a ticket. And people aren't going to get around your street easily over the ensuing 2 weeks because you left your car in the street. Now, there's still some cars that haven't moved since the storm. Those are now going to be addressed as well. So we can see those. There's one right over here on South Bridge Street, and that's going to be addressed tomorrow as well. I saw that coming in. So again, patience, understanding. I think the contractor overall did a decent job. I think the DPW overall did a decent job. Are there some problem areas that still exist? Absolutely. But that is the nature of snow, and that's the nature of a storm. We typically have a thaw right after a storm, and it really starts to recede quickly. It's not going anywhere, and it's not going anywhere for a little bit of time yet. So that's what I got. So we did item number 7. Item number 8, discussion points. We have 2. The Environmental Commission Annual Report. This is something the Environmental Commission does every year. It's a welcome addition to our meeting, and they have an opportunity to talk about the things that have gone on over the past year. So, Glenn?
Thank you, Mayor. So, as the liaison to the Environmental Commission, I just want to applaud the huge amount of dedication and the fact that they're so willing to debate in order to refine and improve everything that they do. And you're going to hear from them the accomplishments that we've done and accomplished for the town and as a commission in 2025. And even on this cold night, it's so great. We have Larry and Tom and John and Jerry and Sandy, and then Jeff and Tim Marie are going to be talking us through some of this. So sit back and relax, and we'll see what's going to be up for 2026.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having us. I am Timmery Deal. I'm the chair of the Environmental Commission.
Jeff Kaiser, the vice chair. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us. This is a great way to just kind of recap everything that we accomplished last year. It was a really momentous year in a lot of ways, or at least it felt that way. So we're excited to talk through with you. Can we get the presentation up? So we understand that you guys have quite a full agenda, so we'll try to be as efficient as possible.
Take the time you need. We're
Okay. Okay, cool. Great. So our mission, as we've said probably every year for a long time, the Somerville's Environmental Commission's mission is to educate, advocate, and promote best policies and practices for the borough's environment and the health and safety of its residents. So educate, advocate, and promote are themes you'll see throughout the presentation here, and they're kind of the pillars that we try to work our projects around and live up to. So our team is completely volunteer run. We have different titles like teacher, activist, engineers, mother, father, entrepreneurs, students, and as you can see on the right, we have a great number of people who are either returning each year. Actually, pretty much everybody is returning each year, and then we have a good number who have been here for more than 5 years, 5 years or more. So,
Team Marie, can you pull that microphone a little closer to you?
closer.
Thank you.
Yes, is that good? Okay, so we are affectionately calling 2025 the year of the volunteer. It all goes back to the time, talent, and dedication that our volunteers were able to provide for us this year that really kind of moved the needle. One of the standout stats here is that in total, between the commission, the green team, and our local group of volunteers, we logged 1,700 hours, which resulted in a little over $66,000 worth of budget saved for the borough. We also were granted from various funders over $25,000 worth of grant money. And we always like to kind of tally up how many actual plants we were able to add to the Somerville local environment, and we're over 350 this year. So really just an awesome year of volunteer work. So first we want to talk about education. Education is a huge component of what we try to do and provide sustainable education for our neighbors. The first piece of which has to go to the Earth Day weekend. So we provide each year 3 different opportunities for people to get involved depending on what they like to do. There's a volunteer opportunity, there's a town swap where people can reuse, reduce, recycle, and then the Earth Day Green Fair, which are the photos shown here, which is really just a great community event. And despite some rain this past year, we still had an awesome turnout. So just wanted to show some smiling faces there, and the DPW guys who are part of that event and that weekend for us too. So quickly, one of the ways that we do reach our neighbors and reach our audience is through these live events. So Earth Day is a huge component of that. As part of the volunteer effort that weekend, we had 76 total volunteers come out to collect over 6 cubic yards of waste, which is awesome. And we were able to donate and give out 350 plus tree seedlings and herbaceous plants that we were giving out at the Green Fair. And then as part of the Green Fair, we invite various local partners and sustainable groups to come and table at the fair and provide that hands-on education to our neighbors.
So, and another couple different ways we, interacted with the public and educated the public was through National Night Out. It's a fantastic event for Somerville to get together and everyone to mingle and for us to, interact with the public. We had through National Night Out, as well as the street fair, which is the electric vehicle car show. We had tons of signups for volunteers that we then used throughout the year for our various projects we're going to talk about. So, and the electric vehicle car show was, again, it's at the street fair. We had several vehicles there. We had education that we provided the public. interacted with the Somerset Committee on EV charging. So both of those were very successful.
Yeah, and then we also were able to provide two different seminar-style events. So the first one was all about New Jersey's changing climate and talking about where New Jersey has been from a climate story and where it's headed in the future, and then followed, kind of bookended on the other side of the calendar with the Climate Proof Your Yard, which was kind of a action plan for how to use the information you learned in the first seminar. How can I actually implement that in my own backyard to be planting and landscaping for the future? In addition to all of the in-person events, which are really rewarding for us, we also have other communication channels that we leverage. We launched a newsletter this year, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Our social media continues to be a really great way for us to reach our community. The Environmental Commission page on the government site, we have used that to kind of post article style educational posts, and we also revamped the way our page works since the website was kind of overhauled in the last year or two. We also have the kiosk at Carol Pager Park, kind of a more bulletin board style advertising kind of thing with that is updated quarterly. And then I tried to count, it's at least 9 Tap Into articles that we were featured in, which is just great to kind of spread the word past just our local Somerville environment. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the newsletter. It is a really great way for us to reach our volunteer base and kind of tout some of the projects and achievements that happen throughout the year to our community. So it includes upcoming events and volunteer opportunities, different tips and tricks to make your house more sustainable, or other kind of ways to be a little bit more sustainable. And then we also tried to do a sustainability spotlight, which is kind of an article style piece of the issue, where we highlighted, for instance, the Somerset County Regional Farmers Market and the Wallace House, and we try to just promote our neighbors and what they're doing in terms of sustainability, so it kind of benefits everybody. So on average, we're reaching 190 to 215 or so people through this newsletter, and we do the quarterly newsletter version once every quarter, and then we also use it for ad hoc volunteer requests. So it's been a huge success, and we will continue to leverage that. Okay, and now we are going to talk about some advocacy in terms of policies and different programs that we've been able to provide for our community. So firstly, we've got plans, resolutions, and ordinances. So the first one is the environmental resource inventory, which the planning board had asked us to make updates to and just provide the most updated snapshot of what that inventory looks like. And then you guys may remember the Skip the Stuff resolution that was over the spring and summer that you guys helped us pass. And what's really kind of cool about that is actually in Governor Murphy's last day in office, he got a lot done that last day, and one piece of legislation he passed was the Skip the Stuff as a statewide bill. So it is now signed into law, and I just feel really proud that Somerville was able to kind of put our name out there as supporting that even before it was passed at the state level.
So also the DEP also has been updating its environmental practices and rules and laws. And in the Inland Flood and Protection Rule in 2023, there was 2 different regulations that came out of that. One was the tree removal replacement, as well as the new stormwater regulations. The Environmental Commission studied those issues. We talked to experts, and we provided our recommendations to council as well. Now we're working with Planning Board with those recommendations to help them through their deliberation, as well as now, since also one of the things Murphy also signed was the real rules, which is now going to change. We're going to have to revisit that as well going forward. So we're here to help when called upon. Also, the other thing that we're happy to be working on is the planning board asked us to be involved in the master plan. So we set a subcommittee up together, and we studied best practices for stormwater management, talked to experts as well as study other towns and manners in which you can do better stormwater management, and we put together a proposal for the planning board, which they will review at some point in time. So we love that type of work, and we're proud to be involved in that.
Awesome. So some resident-based programming. This first one, the energy efficiency program, we've been doing it since 2023. It's essentially a awareness campaign which is supported by PSENG and Sustainable Jersey. And it's just to let our neighbors know that there are these free home energy audits available that can both make their houses more comfortable and also more energy efficient. And it's all in an effort to put a little less stress on the grid and make our town more energy efficient.
We had another great year with the street tree program. So this is our fourth annual year. I think it was 2 years ago, we actually put an advertisement out online, and we got an overwhelming response from the public. And in fact, such an overwhelming response is that we are now still going through the backlog of people that are would like to have a street tree. So if people don't know, when developers, remove trees on property, if they don't replace them, then they pay the borough, and that money goes into an account, and we use that account to then plant trees in front of people's houses that want them. And so we planted 19 trees again this year. We have plenty more people that are interested in something that we think is a very important thing for the town. Plenty more places for trees to go, and we're looking forward to continuing that program to the future. Oh, right, and of course so the Somerset County is going through an EV charging council, and so they approached us as far as getting the word out for to get people to take the survey. They needed people's input, and so we did some advertising for them. We're going to follow up with that council, that committee this year. So stay tuned for those those notices that we'll send out. To learn more about where they're going to be putting charging in the county, how they're going to use that money, and so we're interested in being involved in that.
Yeah, and then the downtown street trees. So these are the conversation that we've been having. It sounds like for
Forever.
years.
Forever.
About the street trees on Main Street. So it sounds like there is going to be some movement in the early part of this year to do a test run or two about some of the suggestions that we provided last year. So we're excited to see where that continues to evolve and participate in that one. And then just this last bullet here, the community polls. So we have this really fun piece that we do at each of the in-person events that we attend, where we have an interactive display for, just to kind of get people talking and, come and it's a beautiful design by one of the EC members, and people can kind of essentially vote for what they feel is the most important thing for Somerville. And we use this both as a way to talk to people in person, but we've also been using it as a way to kind of have a gut check on the pulse of where people want us to focus our time. So you can see these results from the National Night Out poll. Green spaces and tree planting, energy efficiency and renewables, and native plants and biodiversity are the top three. And honestly, those are three of our biggest, items. So we were very glad to see that is lining up so well, and just a great way to talk to our neighbors and make sure we're on the pulse. Okay, Green Team programming. So this is 2025 was the fourth season for the J. Scott Community Garden. This continues to be an amazing pillar of our community. Rebecca Reitman-Garofalo and Jerry DeSapio, Jerry's here tonight, they are the leaders of the garden and very much supported by the Green Team as well. This year, we had 40 lottery applicants and 16 plots to actually fill. And throughout the year, they were able to do 3 workshops, 2 volunteer days, and then, you can see that part of the workshops was having some of the Girl Scout troops come and do kind of a cool activity. So it's really kind of evolved into this really incredible space within our community. And as you can see by those numbers on the left, the demand for plots in the garden far outstrips what we have to offer. So we're really looking to expand the garden in 2026 and are excited about some of the brainstorms we've had for that already.
So there's a few rain gardens you might know of on Carol Pager Park that were just in need of some serious maintenance, and not just maintenance, but completely revamp. And so Tom, who's in the audience here, he took charge on this project, and there's 3 rain gardens. With a host of volunteers over 4 days, we were able to completely revamp them and then get them back into better shape. So those rocks need to be pulled up, the sediment needs to be moved out, the grass needed to be pulled out, the weeds and everything needs to be pulled out. They really needed to be completely rejuvenated. And so over 4 days of work, and then throughout the springtime, we were able to get them back to basically fully operational, get the mugwort out, and it was, so I appreciate Tom's efforts and leadership on that, and now going forward, we'll keep to maintain them as we go forward. It's a great example of how green infrastructure, when maintained, can filter the water that's coming off the road, and then can provide some good stormwater assistance in that way. So as you can see, they're flourishing now. So that was a great host of volunteers that came on a very dreary day that morning and dug up the ground. So that was great to see.
Yeah, that first volunteer day was quite a slog, removing all of the turf grass that had invaded, and it was very rainy. So we were happy to have as many people who showed up. So Tom did do he continued to do the maintenance through the year, and then this photo here shows they actually added in some new native plants where all of that mugwort, which is an invasive species that had completely invaded one whole section of one of the beds. So they were able to fill that back in. So they should be more beautiful than ever next year. All right, so we also work to kind of promote and build partnerships with other local groups, and through that secure resources to power our different projects. You guys have seen this slide before. It kind of enumerates the different local partners that we work to build those relationships with. It continues to evolve, and we'll be talking about some of them specifically on these next slides. This year, for our grant submissions and partnerships, we had $25,750 total in external budget that came in for the community, and not to mention, we actually also secured, I think 150 is an underestimate of the live plants that were provided through a mini plant grant through the Native Plant Society of Somerset chapter. So Native Plant Society provided the live plants, and they also provided a $750 mini grant for a project that we implemented at Vanderveer, which we'll talk about. And then the mid-size grant for the home energy efficiency, which is through Sustainable Jersey and PSE&G. And then we also had a larger grant from the same funders for a habitat restoration along Peters Brook, which we'll talk about. So these partnership projects really stacked up this year, and they were such a great example of kind of the dedication of our community to bettering the whole community. So the one on the left here is the Vanderveer Elementary School courtyard. This was funded by the Native Plant Society, and almost all of that funding went towards actually purchasing the native plants that were planted by a select group of the elementary school students and some EC volunteers. They are looking to use this space as an outdoor classroom, and so I know that they're speaking with CDED, who's a local nonprofit, to build that outdoor classroom out a little bit, but this was kind of a first step in beautifying kind of a forgotten space. As part of that project, we worked closely with the Vanderveer administration, and we were able to do a all-school assembly for kind of an educational component about what are native plants. We had an expert come who could kind of speak to the kids at their level and tell them why these plants specifically are so important and what they're going to bring to their new outdoor classroom. Okay, so the collaboration at the Wallace House. So this has really been pioneered by our commissioner, Jerry DeSapio. She has created an amazing relationship with Paul, the historian at the Wallace House, and they've got all sorts of really cool ideas hopefully coming up for this next year. He's got a lot going on with the renovation and everything, but I know that they're always thinking. This specific photo here shows a simple planting, also donated by the Native Plant Society, where Jerry and a few volunteers were able to help beautify their entryway sign and plant plants that historically would have been there. So. And then the Halsey Street medians planting. So this one was really headlined by John Guarino. He was the one who applied for the mini plant grant through the Native Plant Society. These two medians on Halsey Street are a common walking path for kids going to school. And they're kind of had, just turf grass, a little bit forgotten, and an opportunity to really make a beautiful statement. So they were able to pull together a volunteer effort within like a week and a half or something. It was a little bit of a volunteer blitz, but hopefully looking towards great results in the spring as things kind of come in. And then we also have been working or building a relationship with the high school. Michael Scumba, he's one of the history teachers. He also teaches a climate projects class. So we were asked to go and attend one of the classes at 7:30 in the morning and provide some kind of feedback for the high schoolers who were doing these different climate projects. And it was great. I brought my coffee. And then in addition to that kind of work, we also have been asked to, not consult, but advise on the rain garden installation, which is happening in their courtyard. It's this huge grant going on at the high school. I'm sure you guys have all heard of it, but it was a really fun day. They had thousands of plants that we made a slight dent in, so it was good. And I did forget to mention for the Vanderveer Elementary, for that project, that was headed by John Guarino and Rebecca Reitman Garofalo, both of whom have students at Vanderveer. So, just kind of a really touching project for all. Okay, this is the last leg here. Petersbrook Habitat Restoration. So this is a really exciting project and sort of Jeff's brainchild, so I'm going to let him kick it off.
So we applied for this grant, right, through the Sustainable Jersey Grant. And so we had a lot of ideas in order to go after this $20,000 grant. The commission had a ton of ideas. And so we voted on which one we wanted to go with. And so we thought of this idea was a couple things altogether. The Petersbrook Greenway, everyone walks the path and everything. But not too many. I don't see too many people go down to the water. Go down to the actual brook itself. And when you look at the brook, it gets hit hard by flooding. It's eroded. There's a lot of invasive species. It's kind of all it's just not as inviting space. And so, would there be a way of doing some erosion control as well as inviting people down to the brook, beautifying it, and also getting native plants in there as well? And so we put this proposal together and we were able to secure the $20,000 grant for this. And so one idea of just this one spot to repair this bank, shore it up with native plants, and put a path down onto a bench, turned out we could do a lot more with that than we could do that and plus a lot more with the $20,000. And so Timmery will take you through the rest, but we were able to expand that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so this map here, just to orient you on where along the Greenway this is, it's between Bridge and Grove Street, kind of below the gazebo. So the orange oval there shows where our original target, habitat impact was. And after an expert habitat restoration specialist walked us through that section of the park, it turned out to be a lot greater of an opportunity for the funds that we were awarded. So in all, it's an 18-month process. We are pretty much halfway through, and so this kind of walks you through the different individual sub-projects, and then you can also see that we're going to be adding educational signage and the bench that Jeff mentioned, and then we were also able to add this nice extension of the pathway, which is gravel, and thank you to the DPW for that work. So just to quickly walk you through each of the sub-projects. So the stream overlook, it's the original target that we were looking to affect. So this is one of the only places along the brook where you can actually see the brook. It's a very heavily wooded buffer, which is very good in terms of erosion. But you know, given that this is already open, we thought it was a great spot to both help with erosion and make it you know, a little bit more beautiful and inviting. That spit, it's hard to see on the photo, but this whole section here is on a lower plane than the hill. So it almost looks like maybe the bank had sort of collapsed into the brook, and that's where this little jetty settled. So we spent a couple of volunteer days weeding that free of invasives. There was an invasive grass down there, and we plan to plant that back up. And the habitat benefits are that it's all native plants, but then from a kind of scientific background, we're planting a diverse palette of plants down there so that their roots are going to essentially kind of create like a web, because they each root differently, and they're going to hold the bank back from erosion. You know, that's the hypothesis there. So, and then the shrub LA. So this is a small project that we've actually already implemented. We added 9 different shrubs along the left side of the pathway there. This is coming from the opposite side of the gazebo. But that helps just to kind of add different diversity to the greenway. A lot of what we have there are specimen trees, but we didn't have any specimen shrubs, so the shrubs add winter habitat for birds and overwinter food. Shaded Grove is a small project where we're hoping to add kind of a secret little pathway with native plantings. And the cool part about this is there's so much wooded cover along our bank that we're hoping that if these plantings really take off, that this kind of experimental plant palette could be used in other places along the brook to restore some native plant material back into our wooded buffer. And finally, the pocket meadow. So this is going to be a little bit of the showstopper, a beautiful wildflower meadow that you'll be able to see from the street and walking along the path. It's going to be a pretty big area here, but behind the workout and then before that large tree. So this is going to be great for pollinators and birds and really just protective, nice habitat throughout the whole year. So just wanted to show some of the volunteer photos here. This was when we installed the small wildflower area that's going to be near the stream overlook, that first project we talked about. So this you can see is the new gravel pathway that the DPW added. And while we were there, both volunteer days, people were walking along that pathway and biking along that pathway, and it was just really heartening to see it being used so immediately. This is the shrub, some of the shrubs from the shrub alley. And then we had a whole slew of volunteers show up for the first planting for this in October. And they got like 500 plants planted within an hour. It was pretty incredible, and really just a great way to start the project. So next up, we'll be focusing on the Shaded Grove and Pocket Meadow into 2026. So that brings us into this slide. So looking ahead for the coming year. So we really still expect to continue to educate ourselves and the community through really focusing on community education. And one of the pieces we really want to focus on this year is the importance of trees and green infrastructure to kind of tie into the larger conversation we've been having around stormwater and how individuals can impact that on a local community level. Like Jeff mentioned, there has been some evolution in the MS4 DEP requirements around stormwater, so we want to educate ourselves on that. And we'll look into whether anything has changed now that Skip the Stuff is at the state level. And we will continue to advocate for green space and our tree canopy. So that first piece is starred there, the residential street tree program. As we mentioned originally, the demand for street trees really outstrips the budget that we're allocated each year. I know you guys are working on determining the 2026 budget, so I would put forward here maybe some budget towards additional street trees past what we have allocated in the developer's budget. And then in terms of our green teams, work and goals, the garden expansion there is started as well, because we're looking into different funding opportunities for how to expand that, but different structural elements like the fence, some of those foundational materials, that would be really helpful if that were factored into the town's budget for this year as well, so we can reach the community at the level that they need for us. Okay, and then in terms of kind of the overall goal for the year, I would say that we're looking to present Somerville as a leader within our neighboring communities and really find ways to lead by example. So, we will, of course, continue to impact the local environment with the grassroots volunteering, which has proved to be so successful this year, and also the research base behind the scenes work that usually revolves around ordinances and resolutions. So just a semi-ending slide here. I wanted to just take a moment to say that our work really could not be done without the support of the volunteer base that we have, both from the commissioners themselves and their unwavering dedication, the green team, and our ever-growing list of volunteers. We really work to create an environment within the Environmental Commission that allows people to really use their interests and harness their strengths to impact the community. So, many of the projects that I mentioned were specific people raised their hand and said, I want to do this. This is a project I'm passionate about. I think we should do it. And we made it happen because those people were willing to really, go out on a limb for those projects. So that's what makes us so successful is really the work of our volunteers. So we'll continue to promote that. And then finally and lastly, of course, our work comes from our volunteers, but it's also entirely made possible by the support and trust from the council, from Mayor Gallagher, and from the DPW and other facets of the borough. So thank you guys so much for having us. I'm sure we went over 15 minutes, but thank you. Thank you so much.
I think it was worth it. That was a good presentation. Glenn, you want to kind of lead off if you have anything?
I'm just, it's funny, I'm part of so many of those different things, and yet sitting here listening to it and seeing it all, it's still, it's kind of amazing how much really comes together when everyone kind of pitches a little bit in. I just wrote down 3 C's, collaborative, a lot of community outreach, and then the connections. Connections between all the different ideas and concepts, but then also the connections formed between people. We're talking about a lot of the sustainability and ecological benefits, but there's also a ton of benefits between all those people kind of getting their hands dirty together. And that's kind of that's not even calculated in any of those slides. Yeah. And seeing that firsthand and even witness it with my son and all the people kind of pitching in, it's incredible. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I would just like to say, I've said it before, probably after the last year's presentation, but I'm really proud that I live in a town where our environmental commission is so strong and forward-thinking. Like, you're thinking of ways to help prevent further flooding, and I think the work that you do every day is astounding, and I'm just very thankful for it. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the outreach that you do in gaining more volunteers and involving, the sustainable businesses on Earth Day and things like that. It's really, truly amazing. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, there's no small efforts. Thank you guys so much for the time and efforts you put in to make us a more sustainable community.
Thank you.
So I think that was a wonderful presentation. The work that you did last year and the proposed work this year, we're going to be working together a lot. Between the planning board and the borough council, there's a lot on our plate over the next year, and I look forward to it. I just thought it was a very informative presentation, so thank you. Couple of quick questions.
Sure.
One, I love access to the brook. I think
Great.
that's extremely important, that you're combining, bank restoration, but with also the understanding that people like to see the brook.
Yeah.
It is a hidden gem. It gets, some areas it's very tough to get down to the brook, but other areas, when you walk and look at it's beautiful. It really is. There's a lot there. There's a gentleman in my neighborhood whose friend is a biology teacher. And he would take, when the kids were little, he would take them on brook explorations. And he would literally put boots on, and they'd walk down the brook in the shallow
Cute.
parts. And they'd pick up rocks and look at salamanders and crayfish, all that fun stuff. And it's cool. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Definitely.
The native plants that you're planting,
Yeah.
do they help to keep out the invasive species as well? Do they work that way? Do they?
There are some of them that do kind of create clumps and everything, but invasive species are unfortunately something we're just going to continue
Exactly
to have
what the name is.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to continue to have
Yeah.
to maintain.
Yeah.
And that's part of the long term. I mentioned the 18-month project implementation timeline. That doesn't include the maintenance that the Environmental Commission will continue to oversee along that section of the
Yeah.
brook and the rain gardens and all those within our purview.
So to that end, I don't know whether you've heard about it, read about it, you may even already be aware of it, but Duke Farm is doing a bank restoration along their property to kind of bring back the native species along the bank.
Cool.
And I look at that, and I know I've talked about this before. If you walk down our Petersbrook Greenway, well, the Raritan River Greenway now, along the Raritan River, there is bamboo, invasive bamboo, and it is just multiplying. It's really bad. It's getting bad to the point where during the summer, it's overgrowing the path.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that.
maybe let's take a look at what Duke is doing, because they've got the wherewithal to do it the right way, and maybe, maybe getting a hold of their plan and seeing if there's an opportunity to understand how they're going about it, and if they're facing some of the same challenges we are, either on the Raritan or even in the brook.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can reach out to them about that project specifically. They also have a benefit of, they have a deer exclosure for their whole acres
Yes.
and acres of property, so
Yeah.
that's beneficial. I do remember the bamboo. I think we determined that specific spot wasn't in the borough. Was that what does anybody remember wasn't it?
I don't remember exactly what the.
Because we looked into it, like maybe this time last year.
Yeah,
Maybe it was
is
a
the
little
borough.
longer ago.
It is part
It
of-
is the borough?
It is borough property. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll revisit that.
Yeah, because we did
Bamboo's
some.
tough.
We did some research a few years ago on bamboo, and
It's tough to get rid of.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd be happy to take a look at it.
We actually, it's got to be going back 15 years. Tom may remember this. There was a gentleman who came in and did a presentation on how to get rid of bamboo, and it literally was taking a syringe and injecting it into almost every stalk at the base, and it would kill the root ball or whatever it is. Yeah, very, very tough.
Yeah.
Really tough.
But no, I thought it was fantastic. I thank you. I thank all of your volunteers. This borough is run on volunteers, and obviously you've captured that spirit, and are turning it into action. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
And I'm glad you got Tom back out again. It's good to see you, Tom. All right, item B is a request to craft local policies on the use of municipal personnel and resources in connection with federal immigration enforcement activities. I think this is a result of a letter or an email that was received. So does anybody want to take that?
Yeah, so we received a letter from one of our residents asking us to craft some language to deal with the current ICE what's the word?
Actions.
Actions that are going on. Thank you. That's the best way to put it. So we recently, in line with the county commissioners, signed our support on for the Immigrant Trust Act. Back in 2018, the New Jersey Attorney General passed the New Jersey Trust Directive. And in that directive, if I can read a few things.
Yeah, go right ahead.
New Jersey law enforcement officers will not assist federal agents conducting civil immigration enforcement activities unless certain circumstances are outlined. I'm going to read the rest of those. New Jersey law enforcement can assist federal agencies with the enforcement of criminal investigations or when exigent circumstances exist, such as circumstances when the safety of fellow officers or the public is in jeopardy. New Jersey law enforcement will comply with and enforce arrest warrants only when the warrant is signed by a judge and not by ICE officers, such as Form I-200. And the Immigrant Trust Directive does not prohibit a law enforcement officer from requesting information to complete necessary fields in the arrest database, such as place of birth and country of citizenship. Officers shall not provide any non-public, personally identifiable information regarding an individual. So there's a lot of things that the Attorney General has already set forth, and I think the spirit of the Immigrant Trust Act was to codify that, to make sure that it was put, and this board put that forth. What our resident asked for, the two things, it is a resolution, but the major parts of it are in a therefore resolved. Limitation on borough assistance. No borough employee, including any member of the Somerville Police Department, shall assist, participate in, or provide support for federal immigration enforcement activities conducted within the borough where the federal officers involved do not clearly display identifying information, including name or badge number, sufficient to permit reasonable identification of officers involved. And number two, no borough funds, equipment, property, facilities, or other municipal resources shall be used to support or facilitate federal immigration enforcement activities conducted by officers whose identities are concealed or obscured in a manner that prevents reasonable identification. And then it goes on to say essentially that, you know, if something were to compliance with a valid judicial warrant, which is what's in the federal immigration directive, emergency assistance, which is also in the directive, and routine information sharing required by state, which is also in the directive. So the caveats are already seen to inside of that directive. I do understand the concern of presenting oneself as an officer. We have had in neighboring, luckily we haven't been impacted by it, but there have been neighboring towns. It happened in, was it Raritan? Hillsborough had one. Well, no, what I'm saying is, yeah, there was Hillsborough and another town where someone was driving around.
Reddington.
Reddington, thank you, was impersonating an officer, and so there's been a couple of cases of those types of things. And I think, not saying, I think people have always done that. There definitely has been, you know, circumstances where folks impersonate officers. But I do understand the rationale behind being able to make sure that the people who you are interacting with, there we go, that people that you're interacting with do present themselves and are able to make themselves known. I don't know, and this is a question for Jeremy, I don't know if we can regulate that, a federal agency to keep their masks off and be clearly identified.
There's
pretty significant limits on what the municipal,
You're,
there are some pretty significant limits on the, what the municipality can and can't require of federal officers. What you, I think you're heading in the right direction. If the council was inclined to do something like this, it would be to condition it on some sort of an effort on the federal government, federal officers to comply with certain conditions. So, for example, we won't cooperate with you if you remain masked, for example, of what I'm talking about. So you can condition our municipal officers' cooperation with the police, with federal agents, but you can't really control the behavior or conduct of the federal agents.
And I think, you know, the spirit of the Immigrant Trust Directive, again, was crafted in 2018. So we're looking at something now that is not currently dealing with some of the things that we've been witnessing in the news, whether it's Minnesota or some of the other areas. And, you know, we know that ICE has been in the general area. But I do understand, even from anyone's standpoint, of if you're going to be approached by law enforcement, you know, our officers, the one thing that I can say about our officers is they are part of our community. When you look at our police officers, they're out and about, and that builds that trust. And they are very good at building that trust. They're involved in our DARE program. You know, they are involved in, as I said before, the walking school bus. We know who they are. We trust them based on that. I don't know what we can do, again, and I know we talked about conditionally, but I think that goes a long way. It goes a long way to have it where people feel they have a job. ICE has a job to do. Their main task is to remove criminal behavior of illegal immigrants, just as the police are charged with removing criminal behavior of anybody that is in our jurisdiction, in our borough. But again, I think it creates that level of comfort and understanding if you know who you're dealing with.
other discussion?
I think there's a lot going on right now with newly elected Governor Cheryl that she's been discussing a lot in the news that she's planning to do. I think that, you know, she's talking about making sure that agents don't have their faces covered and things like that. I think, and it sounds like she's looking to take steps soon to make it more official what the state will decide is, the way things should be handled in the state with ICE. So I feel like we will watch what's happening at that level. And like you said, the New Jersey has already done quite a bit to, in the past. So that's all I'm saying is just, it's already happening at the state level. And I think we'll watch to see what happens there.
So at this point,
I don't know, Glenn,
You want-
I got something, but I didn't want to jump in front
No,
of
go ahead.
Well, I mean, at the state level, the Immigration Trust Act, whatever it was we wrote the resolution for, didn't pass, right? I mean, it passed the houses but wasn't signed into law by the governor. What did pass was that the immigration enforcement activities cannot occur at public facilities, right? One thing I'd like to philosophically discuss, or at least put out there for us to contemplate, is that the Somerville Police Department does have a great relationship with the community because they're here to protect us, and most of us, will understand that and act with them appropriately. I would hate for them to lose the trust of the community by not acting in the protection of citizens in any type of circumstance, especially specifically residents of Somerville. So that being said, I mean, I don't know, we can't regulate what the federal government does. That's not up to this council. But I would like to see some language where we put somewhere, or at least a directive that makes it clear that our police department is for protection of Somerville residents and is not for the enforcement of the current administration's whim. So at the time being, I'd like to see us come up with some language that walks the appropriate fine line of not trying to tell anybody else what to do, but making sure that our police department are for the protection of us. That's my main point.
In the directive, so again, the act did not pass. It was one of the things that didn't get through there on the last few days. But in the directive, it does state that the local police department's responsibility is to the residents, and it does talk about harm to but it's police officers. So in the directive, it does say that their first responsibility is to the residents and to their brothers and sisters on the force.
I mean, more to the point in my mind, the way that I would like to, I don't know how we would regulate this, but when we see these images coming from across the country, the police that are involved are typically facing the crowd with the federal officers at their back, allowing them to do whatever they need to. I would like us to write an ordinance that has it the other way, that our police officers face the federal workers doing their jobs, and that they protect and don't take this stance of defense against our citizens. However we do that. I don't know exactly how to write that into law. I know this is a discussion, which is why I bring it up for discussion purposes. But there should be a way that we feel protected, not threatened by our own police. Should something happen where people show up in their community to document or be aware of what's happening with some type of enforcement action that's happening, and our police should be there for us, not for the protection of the federal agents, to be honest.
So
And the directive does say that.
Right.
But the directive is a directive, it's not a law. We don't have anything on the books that makes it any clearer or more clear as to what our intentions are, and if we're gonna take a step in that direction, I would think philosophically, we'd like to land in the place that makes it clear our police are for protection of us.
Well, I can say, having sat on this board for a number of years now, that the protests that we have had in this borough have been an example to other towns and other states. Our constituents, our residents there's been multiple protests since I've been here and even before that, and the mayor can speak to it as well. The one thing that we do very well is get our point across, but in a very peaceful and in a very respectful manner. And so again, our respect is for our police officers, their respect is for us. I think that, there's that other piece of it that we can't control, but I would say that again, I think we conduct ourselves because we know that we have the support of the people, of the first responders that are around us. I understand what you're saying, but our past history here and what I've seen, the protests that we have been, again, exemplar.
Right. I'm not so worried about our folks being the violent ones.
Understood.
Anybody else?
I don't know how we as a body would go about codifying it in that. I hear Andrew and the ability to support our residents in all manners and not support things that are happening that could be a violation against the oath we all took for the Constitution. I don't know how to codify that. I'm sort of with Teresa as well, that looking for direction and support from the state and how they're giving, because they have a little bit more pull in this game as far as dealing with federal agencies than we do. So I guess I'm torn in that manner of, trying to find that balance of supporting our residents, supporting our local police, and also making sure that people are doing their jobs appropriately.
And I think, again, you both make a great point, and I think we've touched on this the last time that we spoke. Following the state, following the county, gives us more legs to stand on. If we are an island unto ourselves dealing with the federal government, we don't have that support. And I think it's important that whatever it is that this body ends up doing, we know that our state supports us. This is a very divisive issue. We are trying to make sure at the end of the day that our residents are safe. That's it. And that our police officers are safe. And we don't want to put anybody in a position where that could be compromised. And I think that, with what's going on with the new governor and everything that's already been put on the books, and the mayor we've talked about this a little bit, there's a lot that's already there that helps and supports this. But again, I think that and I think you're both right, knowing where our state is headed will give us more ability to do the right thing and not put us in jeopardy where we're doing something that could be misconstrued as, against the federal government, going along with the Constitution, as Glenn said.
Any other comments?
I just, it's hard to put into words, but all but one of us on this council are very, very white. And I want the residents of Somerville to feel that they're all being heard, they're all being respected, and they all will be able to feel safe going about their day. And this is something I think about all the time. Just making sure that we're keeping our community safe and that they feel confidence in us that we have all of their best interests at heart, not just the ones that look like us. And I think that it's easy for us to have this conversation because we don't walk out the door every day feeling scared. And I just want everyone who might be watching this to know that we care about your safety, and we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that you stay safe.
Anybody else? All right. This issue brings up a lot of emotion. Regardless of where you sit on this issue, it is an emotional reaction. And I think that is part of the challenge that we have. I've heard discussion tonight about what our PD should do. Our PD sits and they do the right thing every day, 24/7, 365. And I have the complete and utter confidence in any situation that they will do the right thing. They've been doing it forever. And to try to codify how a police officer is supposed to act, I just don't understand that. Our police officers know what to do. They know the right thing. I agree with Teresa, Roger, Glenn, that the state, there's a lot of moving parts right now, and the state is in the midst of trying to figure things out and how they want to react to what's going on. They'll react. It's going to take time because there's how many legislators that have to figure it out. If we can't get 7 of us to agree on issues, getting that many legislators to agree is difficult. But what I don't want to see is an issue like this divide our community. I said this the last time. As soon as this governing body starts tackling federal issues, we've got a problem. It has never happened before. I've been involved in this town for 25 years. We don't take up federal issues. And when we do, it leads down a path of divisiveness. And if we're trying to create a community that's together, that's what we have. So I think we need to tread very carefully in how we react to issues at the federal level and even at the state level. Folks, we have a lot of issues to deal with that affect our 2.5 square miles. Might this affect us? Yes. But the state has to come up with some of those solutions. It's not always up to us to figure that out. And when we start to tread into these areas, you can see, you can feel some of that tension up here. And I don't know that it's really appropriate. Now, I know what some folks will say, well, yes, it is, because somebody has to stand. I get it. I hear the arguments on both sides. I get it. My concern is Somerville and the residents who live here. That's my concern, the safety and security of our residents. And you know what? We have it. So I agree. Let's see where the state is going. And I would just caution in the future, as I said at the last meeting, as soon as where does it stop? when we start entertaining federal issues? Where does it stop? So we need to be very careful where we tread with that. That's just my caution. All right, with that, CDBG discussion. Safe and Sound Somerset is presenting an application for intensive case management for survivors of domestic violence, and they are seeking $95,000 from the Community Development Block Grants. In order for them to apply, we have to actually open up for public comment, and I will open up the meeting for public comment on the CDBG application for Safe and Sound Somerset. Hearing no public comment, I'll close. And Kevin, nothing else that we need to do on that?
No, that's it, Mayor. You'll see a couple of these coming in front of you over the next couple of weeks.
Right, okay, thank you. At this point, I will ask for a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members, Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, public meeting is open. Please state your name and address for the record, and please address your comments to me. Up there. Yeah.
Hi, Mayor Gallagher and Council. It's so good to see you. Thank you for taking time this evening. My name is Mallory. I'm a homeowner in Somerville. I live on 41 Ross Street. I just wanted to add a few thoughts regarding the conversation that we just had about our municipal protections. So one point that you made, Mayor Gallagher, is that we should not be involved in federal policy. I completely agree with you. It made me proud to hear you make that statement. What I am very concerned with, and the point that I'm making, is that the federal government should not be imposing itself in our municipal local government. We are not taking on a federal issue by making clear that our community is going to honor our resources and our law enforcement by ensuring that those who are presenting as law enforcement are indeed part of public safety. You made another point that safety is had, Somerville has had safety. I feel so safe in Somerville. I am so grateful to our law enforcement agencies here because I personally have looked to them and gone to them for help to ensure that our community is this safe place, and it has been. But safety is had until it's not, right? These communities around us, I work in Morristown, right? Morristown felt safe. My coworkers that are homeowners that are residents in Morristown, felt that they were safe to go to their laundromats, to go to their stores, until we've seen new enforcement there where my coworkers, right, are not sure if it's safe to go to the grocery store or the laundromat, right, when they see vehicles that are unmarked, when they see people posing as law enforcement that are not identifiable. You made a point, Councilwoman Bonner, about waiting for the state level to act. That approach works until it doesn't, in the same vein, right? So we've just seen initiatives fail at the state level that we were looking to for guidance and protection. So what I'm asking the council to consider, and understood this is just a comment, is are we gonna look to protect ourselves and our residents, right? Or are we going to consistently have this approach of waiting for state action? And that's just a question for our council. The mayor of Jersey City passed an executive action. Some of you may be aware on this exact topic. We're seeing municipalities all across the country, where I'm from, San Jose, California, all over the country. We even have Midwest cities. I'm happy to provide a list, if it's helpful, to our borough attorney of the actions that municipalities have taken on this subject. What I want to be very clear about, just as a concluding point, is that I care so deeply about Somerville, and I care about protecting our municipality, our resources, and our residents. And there is a doctrine in the legal field, right, the anti-commandeering doctrine. This is well-settled legal precedent that says, the federal government cannot impose state or municipal agencies to take action, absent some, very special circumstances. What we have been seeing is the commandeering of municipalities and state resources, right, by our federal government, which is antithetical to the established law under the anti-commandeering doctrine. We are not trying to get into the subject of immigration. That is blatantly, clearly, unarguably a federal issue. We are actually only, as a resident, I am only trying to have the conversation of ensuring that our municipal resources, our law enforcement agencies maintain that respect, the safety that Mayor Gallagher, you've been pointing to, we've had the luxury of experiencing for so long as tenure, that maintains. And so I want nothing to do with the federal, a federal issue. I want nothing to involve myself in a federal issue. I only care about Somerville. I'm a Somerville resident. I love this community, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Other public comment?
Hi, Timmery Deal, 76 Culver Street. I want to echo everything that my neighbor said. I will admit she is much more prepared to make this public comment than I am. I think that this is an incredibly inflammatory issue and really scary and unsettling and almost dangerous for a lot, and very dangerous for a lot of people. In terms of some of the comments that were said here, I would be interested to know specifically which other federal issues you're referring to in terms of comparing these issues, because I agree that this isn't really a federal issue. This is getting closer and closer and closer to home, and we are hearing many more anecdotes from surrounding towns and the county, and it's getting very, very scary. And you mentioned that the police, the police force continues to make the right decision every time, and I applaud the police, training and, whatever environment they promote here at the Somerville PD to allow their officers to make the right decision in every situation. But this is such an unprecedented time and such an unprecedented insertion of the federal government into our local municipality. And I think that having some sort of guardrails for our police will only allow them to make that right decision for our community in the time when it's most needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Robert Mader, 120 Fusillo Street in Manville. Rise to speak tonight about something that happened right by Michael Lepp Park about a week and a day ago. Just want to inform you about it and propose some solutions. So I've been working for the past 12 and a half years as a youth pastor at Crossroads Community Church. You may know we purchased 147 East Main Street. Though I'm no longer employed by the church, I do have a heart for the youth of the church. And back in, goodness, this must be early 2020, I reached out to the mayor at the time, Mayor Sullivan, and on Park Avenue, there's a crosswalk that leads from the church over the street to the Michael Lepp Park. As you know, there's a swimming pool there, basketball court, splash pad, and then the beautiful Peters Brook, which is lovely to go and take your kids to explore. So I reached out, or a number of people at our church reached out, and we got an in-street yield sign for pedestrians just because we noticed on Park Avenue, it's very straight, and so cars just go whizzing by there. Even I myself sometimes go a little too fast on that street. So we got this in-person yield sign, and it divides the road in half, and cars slow down, and they kind of figure out which way they have to go around this thing because it's right in the middle of the road. And I believe that was doing a lot to help the safety of our kids, especially in the summer. In the summer, that park fills out. And then right across the street, there's a convenience store. And so kids want to take the shortest possible path. So having a marked crosswalk there is really important. 2021, when Ida came through, I remember the storm carried away our in-street yield sign. And I hiked down into the Peters Brook, halfway down the eroded slope. I found it, covered in mud, carried it back, and placed it back in the middle of the street because I believed in it. Sometime after that, it was removed. I don't know by who or when. And to my shame, I didn't make a deal about it. May I approach? I have some pictures just of the intersection from 2020. Thank you. those are just for illustration purposes to show what it looked like prior to Ida. Anyway, those road markings are now gone, even though the apron that leads down is still there. There's no yield sign. Anyway, about 8 days ago in the morning, a family was late to church, and a young boy, a 6-year-old, was struck in the street. Now, it probably was a perfect storm dealing with some of the snow and some other things that were going on. But I just want to encourage you all tonight. I think this is an easy win before the summer comes for the borough to look into, perhaps repainting that crosswalk, perhaps making it a lit-up crosswalk, just given the sheer volume of kids who come through in the summer. I think it's only really a matter of time until another pedestrian accident happens there, just given the high flow of traffic, the speed of traffic. And so I just ask you to look into it and consider taking action. I'm not a man of many means, but if funding is the issue, I will go hat in hand to raise funds for this crosswalk, just because I see many children cross this crosswalk all through the summer, all through the year, and many of them are precious to me, and none of them deserves an unsafe crosswalk. And so whatever needs to happen, if there's fundraising that needs to happen, I'm happy to help. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment?
Hi, Suzanne Mader. I'm with him. 120 Fusillo Street, Manville, New Jersey. I'm also here just to talk about the incident that occurred a week and a day ago when the 6-year-old was struck on Park Ave. I want you to know that I actually have a great amount of both respect and compassion for you. I have been on council before. I work for a municipality. I get all of the calls about the snow and about safety, and I know how difficult it is to sit where you sit. I know how difficult it is to sit where you sit. It is not an easy job. Keep up the good work. With that said, I want to give you a few things to please consider, because I know that in our interaction with the administration of Somerville before, the main argument against this was that we don't put crosswalks where there is not an intersection. And I want to combat that if that ends up being a part of your discussion. I would like to preemptively try to argue against that point with a couple of quick ideas. The first is that, I don't know if any of you know Strong Towns. Strong Towns is an ideological framework. A lot of planners sort of and do talk about walkability and sustainability, a lot of green stuff, which is really good. Somerville already does a lot of Strong Towns related sort of good stuff, walkability, streetscaping, lots of really good stuff. But one of the founding principles of Strong Towns and ultimately any good urban planning is that pedestrian human behavior takes the shortest route from the place that they are to where they want to be. And good government, responsible good government, does not neglect reality, but reacts to it. And so when you have what you have here, which is, if you think about it, almost a comical amount of pedestrian touch points, a park, a playground, water, basketball courts, sports fields, a church across the street, a convenience store with, by the way, a ton of great Gatorades and snacks for those summertime availabilities. And if you go 50 yards around the corner, one of the best ice cream places in all of Somerset County and one of the best sandwich spots. All of that to say, I urge you to consider the actual behavior of not just the congregants of Crossroads Community Church, but the parents and the other children of both your town and all of the visitors that you get, because Somerville does things so well. I urge you to please continue to doing those things well. Because ultimately, when we talk about safety, because we've talked a lot about safety tonight, this is an actual safety issue, right? One that happened 8 days ago, right? An actual thing that happened right here in your 2.5 square mile town. That situation, thank the good and merciful Lord, resulted in a kid who had some chipped teeth and a couple of stitches and is going to make a full recovery. This public comment section would sound and look a whole lot different if that weren't the case. And I would ask us all to think about the next time, because ultimately, choosing to not keep the crosswalk in a good condition is one decision. Choosing to remove the striping entirely is another decision. Those decisions matter when it comes to pedestrian safety. And I would ask you to think about what would happen, what would this public section look like if another child gets hurt in that very, very normal, easy crossing when pedestrians go from point A to point B in the shortest possible way. I understand that it may not actually be sort of within the typical way that you think about planning, but again, I would just ask you, good, responsible government reacts to reality and deals with it rather than stuffing cotton in our ears and saying, well, that's against the rules, we don't do it that way. Thank you for your time and your consideration, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Larry Cleveland. I live at 34 Grant Avenue. And what the woman said is actually very true. We do have a crosswalk with no traffic light. Right at the Giordano Way or Gia. There's a crosswalk there. People have to stop for people walking, and there's no traffic light there. So there's no excuse. You can't use that as an excuse. The state, as you remember, to the planning board from 2 years ago, they said they're gonna put in a crosswalk across West End Avenue, going towards the back of Immaculate Conception Church. Very few people walking across that street over there going to the Catholic school, but they're gonna spend thousands of dollars in putting striping and speed humps. We can put striping back in. I agree with her 100%. Makes sense. Her too. There you go. Thank you.
That was the mildest you've ever been, Larry. No, you were sitting down, go. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close.
So moved.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members, Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Andrew Conti.
Yes.
Glenn Denny.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic. I'm sorry, Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Public is now closed. I agree with you. What I can tell you is, not this council, but very similar situation. We have the YMCA in the center of town, and the YMCA had asked for a mid-block crosswalk to go to Carol Pager Park. All for it. I think it's a great idea. That's where the kids are crossing. The council at that time said, no, we can't do it. It's just the way it was. So I can't do what they won't allow me to do. This issue came up prior to me coming back to this seat. I agree. I also think there's other mitigations we should be putting in there to slow traffic down. Coming off of 28, the curb is rounded there, so when people are making a right, they're still doing basically the same speed limit. So I'm going to refer Teresa to bring this to the Public Safety Committee.
We've actually already been discussing this
Okay,
area.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it is a topic that we're discussing now, and
Yeah.
I was actually going to be talking to Kevin
Yeah.
in the
No,
next
I
day or two
agree.
about some questions that I
You know,
had.
coming from the north, rumble strips to slow people down, there are things that we can do. You know, it's a very wide street, so the perception of speed for the driver is not as fast. And they're just, yeah. So there's a lot of interactions there, so I agree with you.
I think the question that we had, or that the Public Safety Committee had was, is it a state road? Is it a town road?
It's a local road. I'm very familiar with it.
It is a local road,
Yeah, I'm very
okay.
familiar with it. I've met before.
Then it'll be much easier
Yeah,
to take care of.
at that time, there was no legislative authority for the mid-block crosswalk. So in the borough, you know, there are those ramps that are there that were put in under some sort of project. But there's no crosswalk. And I mean, obviously, if it was on a state road, you'd have to get their permission, but that's a local road. That's, it would just, it would require local legislative authority. I think at the time, if I recall correctly, the municipality was not approving mid-block crosswalks. In fact, they did not approve the one that sits across the street from the county building where they cross.
Correct.
20 feet off the corner.
Yes.
Right, so there may be some other mid-block crosswalks that just don't have legislative authority. So when the borough either paves it or makes improvement to it, the ordinance is followed.
So what I would also suggest, Teresa, it relates to this intersection. The travel on 28, when you're coming from the west and heading east and from the east heading west, the lanes are kind of like a no man's land. And there
Yep.
is,
Yep.
there's no marking. So,
Right, that's,
when somebody may stop, somebody thinks they're making a left and
Yes.
you got cars going around. When you're jockeying, coming down the hill, even in your car, and you're gonna go over to the right-hand lane, there's somebody shooting right behind you. So I
Yep.
think that's something that needs to be addressed too,
Yep.
and then we can bring DOT
We've been
or our state
talking about,
representatives in. Okay, good.
those things,
awesome.
the last meeting that was
Thank you.
discussed, so.
Okay, great, you're on it.
Yeah.
So thank you, thank you. All right, ordinances for introduction. Ordinance number 2781 is amending Chapter 75 entitled Fees, adding Section 6 entitled Special Service Charge. Kevin, can you give us a brief overview
Sure,
on this?
this comes about, there's actually state authority for this. This comes about because the police department is spending a lot of time performing requests for OPRs regarding body cameras and just all sorts of items that people are doing research on. So this just gives us the local authority to really match what the state allows. It will allow us to provide a special service charge for work that they're doing for requesting of records. These are not like, and I want to be clear, they're not like police reports. They're things that take days to put together.
To redact,
Yeah.
blur out.
And that's correct. So it's a process, but just gives us the local authority. We do have, like I said, it does allow it under state code to do that. Most municipalities do this.
Okay, public comment on 2781 is now open. Hearing none, I'll close public comment and ask for a motion for introduction.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Council members: Teresa Bonner,
Yes,
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
2782 is amending ordinance number 2776, 251103, establishing a salary range for employee titles to be paid to certain officers and employees of the Borough of Somerville. This is housekeeping that is done sporadically over the course of the year. This just sets the established minimum and maximum amounts for various positions and titles within the borough. Public comment on 2782 is now open. Hearing none, close 2782. Motion for adoption, or introduction, please.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Council members: Teresa Bonner,
yes,
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, amending section 80-7 entitled Additional Required Inspection and Fees, subsection C and D, to clarify that the Borough of Somerville receives a fee unless waived by the Borough Council and the Fire Marshal, Fire Inspector, or designee is paid in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement or salary ordinance. Kevin, is that pretty self-explanatory?
Yeah, what it is to ensure that the municipality does receive the fee. There was a confusion in the ordinance that appeared that the fire marshal or a fire inspector would receive the fee. So the borough receives the fee. The borough pays those employees their appropriate pay, overtime or otherwise. That's what this clarifies.
Okay. Public comment on 2783? Hearing none, close 2783. Motion for introduction, please.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Council members: Teresa Bonner,
yes,
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, 2784 is amending the redevelopment plan for the West Main Street redevelopment area, specifically blocks and lots as noted pursuant to NJSA 40A 12A-1. Colin, can you give us a brief overview on this? Yeah, please.
This is the follow-up to the planning board's study of an area in need, and it adds the section of land on West Main Street from Dowdy to where Vets forms back with Somerset Street. It's proposing no changes to bulk standards. It's not proposing any of the properties other than the commercial ones that could be redeveloped, the private properties. It's taking them and saying that no redevelopment will take place there, but they will be able to participate in the benefits of any property being in a redevelopment area. For instance, if a property owner wanted to rehabilitate the house, they could get grants from the DCA to assist them doing it while they're in a redevelopment area, which wouldn't happen elsewhere. We've also got a commercial strip down Dowdy and ducking around Veterans Memorial Drive. They're not intended to be redeveloped unless the owner wants to do
Residential
something
strip.
with them.
Yeah, residential strip.
And so that leaves the Granites building in all its glory.
Yes. Okay.
We don't, one final thing, we don't propose in changing any of the standards or requirements for building or rehabilitation.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Public comment on 2784 is now open. Hearing none, close 2784. Ask for a motion for introduction.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, consent resolutions. We have one modification on 071, which is authorizing free parking on February 12th for Galentine's Chocolate Walk, starting at 5 p.m. It should be all lots will be free. Street parking will not. The meters on the street will be maintained as is. All right? So, any pulled off for further discussion?
64.
Okay? Any others? All right. 59, canceling uncollectible taxes and issuing a refund to address known as 123 Davenport Street. 60 is authorizing the execution of a shared service agreement, transportation, Somerset County. 61 is memorializing the Green Team members listed below with the term expiring 12/31/26. 62 is approving opioid funding for Challenge Day activity. 63 is authorizing a 2-year service agreement for animal control services with Animal Control Solutions, LLC. 65 is approving Somerville Fire Department application for Emma Hill. 66 is affirming change orders to RJM Landscape and Design Contract and making findings required by NJAC as noted for change orders exceeding 20%. 67 is approving payment for $500 application fee for a grant from the Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund to the NJEDA for the remediation of certain sections of the former Color Technology site at 60 Cornell Boulevard. 68 is establishing the title of Public Works Operations Supervisor and adopting job description. 69 is approving Somerville Office of Emergency Management application for Teresa Quinn as a volunteer cert. 70 is approving Somerville Office of Emergency Management application for Kevin Moore as a volunteer for cert. 71 is authorizing free parking on February 12th for Galentine's Chocolate Walk starting at 5 p.m. with change as noted. 72 is authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract for environmental engineering services to Geosyntec Consultants. 73 is approving Kaylee Micarenda as Deputy Treasurer effective January 1, 2026. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, 064 is appointment by mayor, consent of council, appointing Dana Kessel to serve on the Community Animal Response Team, CART, term expiring December 31, 2026. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I just wanted some clarification of this position.
Yeah, the CART team is the team that if there's an evacuation and animals need to be cared in addition to the humans, there's a CART team that cares for those animals. I sit on that team. Dana had submitted me her credentials on that. She has the credentials to sit on that team as well.
And up until this point, Kevin's been the
I
sole
have two
member
other
of that CART
volunteers,
team.
but they're not trained yet. Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
No.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
No.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay. Bills and vouchers. Roger.
I make a motion to pay bills and vouchers in the amount of $1,297,647.51.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members: Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denis,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Denis, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
And I'll agree. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.